this is very significant because Italy is the one European country, or one of the, I shouldn't say one, but one of the major industrial countries of Europe, which has, with the new government, developed a very, very productive relationship with China. They have a very good relationship to President Trump. When Conte was at the G7, he totally agreed with Trump that it should be expanded to be the G8. They also demand that the sanctions should be removed, and they have a very, very interesting and positive attitude to overcome the refugee crisis by joining hands with China in the industrialization of Africa. So the Italian government is very different than what the Western media, it's not a surprise actually, portray them to be. And now President Xi Jinping is scheduled to come on a state visit on the 22nd and 23rd of this month. And it has been leaked that what is in preparation is a memorandum of understanding between the Italian and the Chinese government, which is supposed to be signed when Xi Jinping is there, between him and Prime Minister Conte, about a memorandum of understanding of cooperation fully with the Belt and Road Initiative. Now, you would think that this is a positive thing, but as the freakouts by the mainstream media demonstrate, this is regarded to be a threat. The Financial Times yesterday was completely, freaked out by basically quoting Garrett Marcus from the, I think, National Security Council of the Bolton wing of the administration, saying that he doubts very much that this will benefit the Italian people and it will ruin the reputation of Italy in the long run. Now, the responsible in the economic ministry, I think he's the undersecretary for formulation of this memorandum, Michele Geraci, countered that and said, well, what is wrong with that Italy will try to increase the export of Italian goods into the fastest growing market, which is the Chinese market. And, so basically this was one response. And the EU Commission also came out and basically said that, this is, totally against the EU policy, that it's the EU which sets the standard and Italy must comply. Actually, it is Germany and France who right now are the key blocking countries. You have a very flux situation. You have already 13 EU countries who have signed memorandi of understanding, or probably memorandum. Anyway, they signed such protocols. And this is Poland, Czechia, Slovenia, Hungary, Slovakia, Bulgaria, Croatia, Greece, Portugal, Malta, the 3 Baltic states. And with Italy now, it would be, as I said, one of the major industrial countries of Europe. And, it obviously means there is a great benefit to all sides participating in it. And all the ports of Italy, Trieste, Genoa, Palermo, they all, are absolutely interested to be part of the maritime Silk Road. And Mr. Geraci pointed to the fact that all Italian ports are close to Africa without being in Africa, implying that this will make the whole question of development of Africa more easy by integrating them into the new Silk Road perspective. So you would think that this is causing big excitement, but as you can see, there is a fierce storm of opposition coming from the City of London and obviously coming from neocon circles in the United States. I do not think that that is the position of President Trump, who, as I said, got along very well with Prime Minister Conte. So we have to see how that plays out. My suspicion would be, that this tension will increase in the forefront of the visit of Xi Jinping, who, after he is in Italy for 2 days, will go to France. And then, according to several sources, not totally confirmed in the United States yet, but certain European sources, he will go to the United States on the same trip and meet with President Trump in Mar-a-Lago. And, I think this is really incredible because according to certain blogs, Italian news blogs, naming unnamed insiders, officials, the one sentence in the memorandum of understanding apparently the US embassy in Rome was most freaked out about is a formulation which is used by Xi Jinping all the time, namely that the aim of the Belt and Road Initiative is to form a community for the shared future of mankind, a community for the common destiny of humankind. And I have always emphasized that it is exactly this conception which is the closest approximation to what we are pushing for, namely a new paradigm in the history of mankind, that you have to put the one humanity first before all national interest, and that we have reached a point in the history of humanity where basically, we have to think in terms of the united future of the one human civilization, being united in space travel and research, being united in other groundbreaking scientific breakthroughs, and overcoming geopolitics. Now, if it's confirmed that this is really a bone of contention, well, then this is the smoking gun of the geopolitical faction, that they oppose this idea of the one humanity, which we know they do, but we have to see. I think this is a big fighting issue because, as we discussed in the last days and weeks, the strategic outcome of this historical period will depend on our ability to move the United States away from geopolitics and to move them into accordance with this idea of being part of this one humanity and not necessarily insisting on an unipolar world, which in any case does not exist any longer, because with the rise of Asia, with the rise of China, with the absolute dramatic success of the Belt and Road Initiative, which now involves 156 nations and international institutions who have signed such agreement, I think it is very clearly the sign and the future of civilization. So I think this is a very interesting fight, and I would think that in the United States, people would be well advised to talk to the Italians about it. There are many Italian Americans who are both patriotic Americans, but they're also proud to come from Italy. We have seen that when a couple of months ago, one of the European parliamentarians, Marco Zanni, came and had many meetings in the Congress, and there was a huge interest in the Italian community. And I think this is very worth to be prepared, and I think that in the United States, there should be a discussion about all of this in a similar way like we discussed it 2 years ago before the first Belt and Road Forum in Beijing in May 2017, where we pushed that the United States should participate in that. And then President Trump sent an important delegate to this Belt and Road Forum. And the second of such, such a forum will take place in April. Prime Minister Conte will go and attend. And I think, again, we should use this period between the coming visit of President Xi Jinping to the United States and then the Belt and Road Forum in April to really escalate this campaign for the United States to join the new paradigm and not oppose it. And I think President Trump is in any case not opposing it, but the opposition comes from those people who are his opponents, meaning the war party of the Democrats and the neocons. And I think it is very, very urgent that we are using this international constellation to move the United States and the world forward.